What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Trust Your Board podcast. My name is Stephen Wright. As always, I am joined by Mr. William Monroe. Will, how are you doing, friend?
Steve, doing pretty good, buddy. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Can't complain. We are very happy today. We got another guest on the line with us. We have Nick from Play to Win Fantasy. Nick, how you doing, man?
I'm doing very well, and been looking forward to this for a little bit now, and I'm glad to be on your guys' podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We were talking a little bit before the show. I think this is like your second mock. Well, you've had a regular draft, and then this is your first real mock of the season.
I've done a handful of mocks, typically just on like Fantasy Pros, messing around and things like that. But it's been my first mock in probably a few weeks now. I've been just kind of focusing on putting out content. So ever since my last draft, I have not been mocking it up. So I'm excited for tonight.
Yeah, it'd be a nice little experiment here, huh?
Absolutely.
Do you have any typical strategies when you're doing a kind of a regular redraft? Are you like a late quarterback guy, like tight ends, your RB, or are you just kind of flexible and you?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends, obviously, of what's fallen to you. I'm a big get your guy drafter. I'll take my guy early if I need to. I'm a big running back drafter. You typically do take running backs pretty early. I know that's pretty frowned upon, and Twitter world has been experimenting with this whole no running back draft strategy and things like that. But I like to get my backs early just because of how deep the wide receiver position is. Same kind of goes for tight ends. I usually will take them a little bit later just because even looking at this season coming up, there's a lot of guys that are going to be in some new roles. So, yeah, just a little bit there.
Yeah, fair enough. Cool. So you had mentioned putting out some content for Play to Win. You want to talk a little bit about what you guys put out?
Sure. So we are at P2W Fantasy on Twitter. We put everything out through Twitter. It's myself and two contributors. So I put on the profile, kind of as a joke, kind of not, but I'll be the CEO of P2W, and I have Anthony and Thor, who are my contributors. And we put out articles. We have a podcast going. We'll put out YouTube. All three of us put out different, content through tweets. But we're trying to get more podcast material out more often. Before it used to be mainly just articles, and we got a lot of views through there. But just trying to stay consistent, trying to grow a lot, and trying to interact with the community as much as possible.
Cool. So is there anything with the podcast and the articles, is there anything specific that you guys focus on, or do you just bounce around the industry as a whole?
I've been trying to do more things that I don't see often as far as like the articles go. So I think the last article I just dropped this morning was looked at all 32 teams, one player that you can look at as a win now, a dynasty, hold, stash, or sell, and just went through that. So a lot of random topics for the articles. Podcasts, we try to mix it up with some current topics, and we try to compare things for 2020 and bring in some guests too. So yeah, we just kind of bounce around different ideas through the group text, and I've been reaching out to more Twitter pages and get them involved. So it's a little mix of everything right now.
Cool, awesome. And let's just plug it again. What was the Twitter account we can follow you at?
It is at P2W Fantasy, and you can just find all of our content on there. Our website's right on the homepage, which has everything on there as well. So easy way to find us right there.
See, the pinned tweet is Kenyon Drake as well, man. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, some say it was a paid-for cameo, and some say that me and Drake are boys. So it's in the eye of whoever's looking at it.
Urban legend, right?
Yeah, it's up in the air right now. Not giving away any secrets.
Maybe he'll be going at that 2-3 slot you're sitting in.
Hey,
Mr. Running back early.
Hey.
What a deal.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. So, as I mentioned, we do got a 12-team PPR mock draft today. I'm drafting out of the 5. Will is drafting out of the 6. And Nick is drafting out of the 10 spot. Okay, so we got it started. We had Dalvin Cook go off the board at the 101, which this is like the third week in a row.
Yeah.
We've had a non-CMC. So, Nick, we did a dynasty mock a couple weeks ago.
And Barkley, I think.
Yeah, we had Zeke go first in the 101 in a dynasty startup. And then last week,
Cook,
who was it last week?
Or was it Kamara?
It might be Kamara going at the 101.
Oh,
So yeah, just some interesting stuff going on.
yeah, I don't. It's not sitting too well with me, but
I know, right? But Cook going off 101, McCaffrey 102, Barkley 103, and Camaro 104. Kind of your typical starting spot outside of them all being shifted back a spot. But so I got the full complement of players outside of those there that I have access to here. So in a interesting spot, I think normally I would probably be picking up Zeke here, but I kind of want to play counter to Nick's strategy if he's going to go running back heavy. Maybe I will take on that zero RB kind of approach and see what happens.
All right.
It's not something I normally do, but I'll give it a shot and we'll see what happens. So I will take the obvious guy here in Mr. Michael Thomas.
I really thought you were going to take Zeke, and I was actually going to be pulling that trigger on that with Michael Thomas there, but I'll take Zeke up here. I can't imagine he really gets past pick 3 or 4 in regular drafts here, but we'll see what happens. Take Zeke here. Any expectation of who falls to you there at 10 before I pick him?
At 10, I would love at 10. I'm a big Josh Jacobs fan, and I would take Josh Jacobs at 110. So if he falls there, that's going to be my go-to pick, especially with that potential workhorse increase passing game focus for 2020. I'd like Jacobs there.
There you go. Any worry about like some of the weapons they added? We don't know how they're going to use Limboden, but could be like a receiving back in there.
I think it actually helps Jacobs because now that he has more supplemental weapons on the passing game, adding Ruggs and like you said, Edwards is going to be involved and different guys like that. I think it helps Jacobs instead of everybody looking at, hey, they're going to throw to Darren Waller and then they're going to run with Josh Jacobs. So I like that they added more weapons.
Yeah, that was definitely the game plan last year.
Yeah.
Well, take Zeke here, and we'll see if your boy Jacobs falls down to you.
Zeke is the steal of the draft so far, though, and it's 6.
Yeah. Tyreek, Devontae Adams, and then Derrick Henry to you. Got a couple of running backs available.
Yeah, so I mean, if I'm looking at running backs, you got Joe Mixon, not a huge Mixon guy, Kenyon Drake, Josh Jacobs, and then Nick Chubb's the next running back just listed in order here. I'm going to go, like I said, with Josh Jacobs. Lock that in. And the next few picks, we have Julio Jones, wide receiver 3 from last year, Kenyon Drake, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, and then back to me. I think because obviously Hopkins kind of takes me away from my running back strategy here. Another interesting thing would be, like, is it that early to take a Mahomes or Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, they got him at 18 right here for Mahomes, so ADP says not super early, only a few picks.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
I think what I'm going to do is throw in a little different approach here, and I'm going to take my boy who is like a running back, and he throws the ball into the end zone for some touchdowns as well, and I'm taking Lamar Jackson.
Very nice.
So Miles Sanders after that, Chris Godwin, DeAndre Hopkins fell very far to where he probably usually goes, and then it's up to you, Will.
So we got Austin Eckler and Aaron Jones, Gurley, CEH, top running backs available. Wide receivers, a little bit of a run, a couple of receivers going there, but top 5 are off the board. So we got Evans, Galladay, Thielen, Odell Beckham, all the tight ends, and then only Lamar off the board there. Mahomes is definitely tempting because I'm not thrilled with Aaron Jones. I mean, you got Gurley, Clyde, Austin Eckler definitely sticks out as probably the guy that is the most attractive here because I do like to get at least 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds, maybe stretch it to 4, but there's not really any wide receivers that stick out to me. So unless I'm going for Mahomes or a Kelsey or a Kittle, which I think I'd hold off on there, I think I'm going to lock in Austin Eckler, especially in PPR format. I think it's going to be maybe not as targeted as used as he was last year, but in PPR, I think he'll still be very good and be thrilled to pair him with Ezekiel Elliott here. So we'll lock in Austin Eckler, and you'll be on the board there, Steve.
Love that pick. Love that pick.
Yeah, that's a pretty good start. I will continue with my 0 RB experiment here. And plenty of solid options. Evans, Galladay, Thielen, Beckham, Cooper, like a lot of those guys here. So really pick of the litter. Quite happy here. I will go ahead and lock in Mr. Kenny Galladay. Nothing to really say. I mean, they're all fine options. It's really just a preference thing. You know, I think longtime listeners know that I am a big Stafford fan. So locking in his number one target is pretty nice. I really don't come away with him very often in mocks, if ever, just because I tend not to go wide receiver early. So I'll take my opportunity now and add him to the roster. See what gets back to me here. So we had Pat Mahomes. There, go to 209. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Mike Evans, and Aaron Jones to round out the second. Moving on into the third, we have Todd Gurley, Leonard Fournette, Travis Kelce, and George Kittle go back-to-back.
Interesting.
Which sucks, because I was definitely considering going tight end there. Yeah, kind of a staple of zero running back is you grab a tight end early, but that hurts. So that's a shame. I will move to start filling out my flex spot with other top wide receivers here. And there's one screaming off the board at me. I know a couple went off the board. Galladay and Evans went off the board. So we got Juju and Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp that have kind of come into play. DJ Moore, which is going to be a nice target there for Will or Nick maybe. But I'm going to go ahead and grab Amari Cooper. I have mentioned on a couple podcasts that I am a big fan of his this year. I think he's going to be pretty solid. I think that might be a stupid thing to say, but you know, we're gonna add a little bit of nitro to this team and see what it ends up looking like in the end. So Amari Cooper's a pick. Will, you're up.
Solid receiving core to start there. I think the way the board's fallen, maybe going to go the opposite of you and take what Nick said his usual strategy is. There's a couple receivers, Thielen, Odell, Juju, that are interesting. Cooper is probably the big one for me to get, that boom bust guy on top and then fill out with more solid receivers. But I don't think I could pass on Melvin Gordon here. It's a change of scenery, always a little scary. You don't know how he's going to be fully used. I'm guessing they're still going to use Lindsey a good bit, but they paid him a lot of money. And I think that they want to take some of the load off Locke, even though they loaded him up with weapons. So pair Melvin Gordon up with Austin Eckler again. I know Austin probably thought he finally got rid of Melvin Gordon this offseason, but can't get away from here. So I'll load it up here and see what happens if they go RB heavy strategy. We'll see when Steve and I eventually deviate. So we'll go Melvin. After that, Thielen, Juju, and David Johnson. Wow, look at that. 5 teams in a row all went one position.
Interesting.
Yeah, wow.
Well, so the strategy that I set up front, I think I'm going to just throw that out. Just the way
to be water.
And I said before, go get your guys. And the draft is one of my favorite guys in the league. And I think 2020 is going to have a massive jump. So you actually mentioned him before, but I'm going to go with DJ Moore.
There you go. That's one of Steve's big guys.
Good pick.
Yeah. Huge DJ Moore. He actually just liked the tweet that I posted. I posted a jersey. I just got a jersey of him.
Oh yeah, saw that.
I tagged him in it. Yeah, tagged him in it, and he liked it. So I think we're boys now. So
that's awesome.
There you go.
All right. So coming back around now, there's some interesting names on the board. I feel like I really need another running back. A little standstill right here. So this is just a redraft, correct?
Yep.
All right. So since it's a redraft, if it was a dynasty, I would not take this guy this early. But such a run-heavy offense, and I still think he will be the guy for 2020. So I'll roll the dice in a more win-now mentality, and I'm going to take Mark Ingram.
We were just talking about that in a previous episode about most people don't want to pair their quarterback and running back up, but this seems like a kind of unique situation where Lamar actually, even though he's going to take carries away, is going to make Ingram even more useful.
Yeah, might be the only situation to do something like that, I guess.
Absolutely. So only guys off the board, 2 quarterbacks, Mahomes, Jackson, 2 tight ends, Kelce and Kittle. Running backs, we got Singletary, Raheem Mostert, David Montgomery, Kareem Hunt, a couple of the other rookies in Akers and Swift. And then wide receiver, where I'm probably looking here because I think I may have been tempted to go Taylor, but he went off the board there. So wide receivers, we got Calvin Ridley, Robert Woods, A.J. Brown, B.K. Metcalf, T.Y. Hilton, Keenan Allen, Sutton, and Lockett. There's quite a few receivers there. I'd say most of them are probably safer guys. You got A.J., D.K., and T.Y., or maybe the kind of boomer bust guys. And the guy that sticks out to me here is A.J. Brown. I'm pretty high on him. I think here in the 4th round is a pretty good spot. And I think I'm going to be able to fill out a receiving core of safer guys around him. But he's that guy that's going to be a wide receiver, top 2-3 wide receiver a couple weeks of the year to really give you that boom. And I think I've got safety in the running backs I've already got. So we'll get my first wide receiver here. And as Nick mentioned earlier, you got to grab your guys. I don't think he'll get back to me here. So we're going to go A.J. Brown.
Great.
Awesome. Solid decision. There's not a lot of debate here on my end. I am going to go ahead. I mentioned in the last round that you strike early at tight end typically in this kind of strategy, and I'm going to do that. I'm also going to make sure that Nick just doesn't build the Ravens offense in its entirety here. So Mark Andrews is going to be my pick here. Lock away the tight end position.
Like it.
To round out the 4th, we had Devin Singletary, Raheem Mostert, Calvin Ridley, David Montgomery. To start the 5th, Robert Woods, Cortland Sutton, Kareem Hunt, and T.Y. Hilton. So this tends to be where I start looking away from the position, the wide receiver, tight end position, start looking at running back. And this tends to be where I look and kind of regret some of the decisions that I've made because I like a lot of wide receivers, and I am not liking a lot of the running backs. So it's kind of the nature of the beast. I will go ahead and grab one of the rookies. And it's going to be between Akers and Swift. And I really don't love one any more than the other. The tiebreaker to me is the teams overall. So the Rams with their current coaching staff have quite a history with the running back position. It makes you feel kind of comfortable. Obviously, you could still be in a timeshare, very well maybe, but at least there's a history there of them having a lot of success running the ball. Meanwhile, Detroit hasn't had success running the ball in a very long time. So Akers is going to be my pick. He does kind of worry me as my first running back, but if he does end up with that girly kind of workload, then, I have hit a home run here, and it's a fantastic pick. So time will tell on that pick, but we're going to go ahead and lock in Cam Akers.
Solid pick there. I think Akers and Swift will both be pretty, I would assume, unless they move up, solid picks here in the 5th round. And, guys that you can get as your most teams' 3rd or 4th running back. But if you're going 0 RB, totally a great target for your first guy when you've loaded up on those other positions. Looking at wide receiver here myself, there's still a bunch of quarterbacks available that I like. And outside of those top 3, Ertz is still good, but I do think he takes a little bit of a step back with a step up from Goddard. Wouldn't mind getting a 4th running back, but there's no one that stands out, more than some of the receivers available, probably just Swift. So looking at the wide receivers, there's really 2 that are, maybe 3, Terry McLaurin, but I don't think I can take him over these top 2. It's DK Metcalf and Keenan Allen. Now, I mentioned wanting to get a safer option, and Keenan Allen seems like a perfect pairing with A.J. Brown, but I am pretty solid at the running back position. I think that, getting those backs early that you're, pretty confident are going to get a lot of touches gives you a little bit more safety, and you can afford to go a little boom bust on the wide receiving core. So I think I'm actually going to pivot over to a guy, DK Metcalf, that I think worst case is going to be, a little boomer bust. But he, easily could, solidify himself as that wide receiver 1 role. And I don't think Lockett is much more than, a field stretcher at this point with DK still, being the number 1. So lock in DK Metcalf here and get 2, solid receivers who we'll see, but they both proved it their rookie year, which is, usually a pretty good indicator that you're going to be able to hack it in the league here. So we'll lock in DK Metcalf and see what falls back to you here, Nick. We got Ertz off the board, Keenan Allen, and Kyler Murray.
Interesting. So I'm going to have to take a wide receiver just because I only have one right now, and I think there's some tier differential between these guys here. I am going to take your counterpart in Seattle. I think you said DK might be the number one. I still think Lockett will be the number one guy. I think the receptions and targets might be close, but I still think Lockett's going to be that guy. Part of me wants to take McLaurin a little bit just because I think the volume's very focused on him in that offense, and we don't really know who that wide receiver 2 on the team is going to be. So that's an interesting thought too. But I think I'm going to go – now I'm like debating with myself here.
It's the best when you're on the clock and you have to talk it out.
Yeah, I'm going to go – so my strategy here is I'm going to go Lockett, and then I want to take, if I can get him coming back around, DeAndre Swift, because Swift was my RB1 coming out of college over Taylor, over Edwards-Helaire, so I'm hoping he comes back around to me.
Ooh, there you go.
Wow, there you go. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to take Swift. I know people don't look too highly on the Detroit offense. I know Kerryon Johnson is not going to evaporate, but for me, DeAndre Swift was the best running back coming out of that class, in my opinion. I know that differentiates from a lot of other people. He can pretty much do it all. He can run the ball very efficiently. He's a good pass catcher. I think year one, he's going to catch a lot of balls out of the backfield. We've seen some videos of him and Matt Stafford working together already, and they're doing some route running and some pass work. So I'm hoping, even if it is a little bit of a split backfield, that Swift eats up that PPR reception count. So yeah, I'm going to go with Swift on that. And then after that, we got Devontae Parker, DJ Chark, Dak Prescott, and we're back to you, Will.
All right. Glad that temptation is off the board because I was thinking about Dak there myself, actually.
So was I. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, he's going to be a stud this year. I'm an Eagles fan, and I'm not afraid to say it. Dak is going to go off this year at all the weapons that he has, and I think the defense is really going to take a step back, losing a few options too. So they could be in more shootouts than they were in previous years. So he's definitely going to be a good option. Don't usually like to go quarterback early, but I think this is good value for him. Looking at what's available, not really thrilled at the tight ends. I do give some thought to Deshaun Watson. I know a lot of people are down on him this year, but I do still really like the talent. And, I think he's probably, decent buy low in Dynasty even. Or as low as it can be for a talent in him, just with the limited weapons there and people maybe being a little more short-sighted. So we'll take a look at the running backs and receivers, but, a fallback option probably would be Deshaun Watson. At the running back position, you got a guy like J.K. Dobbins that I could, take a shot on with some solidified wide receivers there. Also, a guy like Darius Geis, 2 options that I think in this round, if I only had 1 or 2 running backs, I'd be a little more worried because we'd be relying on them a little more. But here they'd be, a top flex option or even a bench guy if you can get another receiver down there. So looking at the wide receiver position, you got Marquise Hollywood Brown, AJ Green, Cooks, a guy like Jarvis Landry, Gallup, Deontay Johnson, Tyler Boyd. At this point, the option right now probably is Jarvis sticking out to me. Not a sexy pick, but I think it makes sense to pair with the receivers I already have. So the debate for me here is going a little early on a quarterback in Watson, or a guy like Jarvis who, kind of been year in and year out, just proven to be pretty consistent, has an upside of a wide receiver 1, especially, if there's any injuries on the rest of the offense, but it's probably pretty solid as a wide receiver 2. So I think that's going to be the pick here. As much as I do like Watson overall, I think it's just safer to get that third receiver that likely will be my week in and week out wide receiver 2, and then just hope that every other week it's, a boom week for AJ Brown, boom week for DK Metcalf. So we'll lock in Jarvis Landry as the wide receiver 3 here. And now to you, Steve.
The Dak Prescott pick really messed everything up. And it happens sometimes. I was going to go quarterback, and I won't have to focus on tight end and quarterback the rest of the way, and I can pound running backs. But It kind of messes everything up. I do want to go with another running back here, but I'm not in love with a lot of the top guys. I don't really have any interest in Damian Williams. I like Geis. We'll own him in a dynasty league, but in this situation, I don't feel like I can roll the dice on him. Same thing with Dobbins. Big Dobbins fan, but I can't wait to see, like, does he start catching on mid-season? He maybe has a role from week 1, and it's pretty solid, but I can't roll the dice with that situation. Ronald Jones is probably a pretty solid pick here because he's going to have a decent role. It just, oh man, I've railed on him so much. It just feels dirty drafting him. Keyshawn Vaughn, same kind of situation. Like, could be a 50-50 split. He could be fine. And you got Jordan Howard, who I like and really want here, but it's a big reach. So I'm going to roll the dice. I am going to draft Ronald Jones if my finger will actually click the button. I'm not sure if it'll do it or not.
Might be a sign. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But I'm going to draft him, and then I'm going to I hope that Jordan Howard gets back to me. That'll give me 3 running backs. Jordan Howard, I'm somewhat confident in, at least as a first and second down back. So he'll be a decent volume play, and I think that team needs that. So we're going to lock in Rojo and see what happens here. We had AJ Green go off the board, Deshaun Watson, Evan Ingram, and Brandon Cooks around out the 6th. To start the 7th, we have Hollywood Brown, Damian Williams, Tyler Boyd, and Jordan Howard.
Man.
Oh man. Okay. That sucks. So the only other volume play here is Sony Michel, and that's just full on gross.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more attractive now with Cam there if Cam is healthy.
This is true. You do have Breida, another counterpart in Miami that I do really like, especially in a PPR. Can he get back to me? I'm not sure. So I've been put in this position. Nick, you will, I guess, learn now that I am a gambler. Will knows this. I try to suppress it. It doesn't always go away. Yeah, or do I? So I'm just going to roll the dice with Geis. Yeah, I feel like I've been back in this position. I'm taking who I see as the best guy available. As risky as it is, this is what I'm going to do, and we'll live and die on that decision. So, Geis, it is.
I like it.
Thank you for taking that off the board for me there. I was looking at him as well.
See, I got some support on that decision. I like it.
Yeah. So we'll look at the top of the board for a couple positions. Quarterback, we got Breeze, Brady, Ryan, Rodgers, Allen, Wentz, Stafford. Tight end, Gronk, Hurst, Higbee, Hunter Henry, Cook, Fant, Hooper. So still a good bit of, the top couple tier players available at both of those positions. So I don't feel like I have to go one of them just yet. A guy that's really interesting right now to me is Deebo Samuel. Obviously, we still don't know exactly how long he'll be out, but I think they said best case scenario for this type of injury is typically it would lead him right up to the first game. But I think if you can get him, here in the 7th or 8th round, and he only misses even like a month, right? You had him on the bench for 4 games, still pretty solid to be able to pair with a team that you don't need to play him right away. Michael Gallup's also pretty interesting, kind of the last 2 in a tier for me. And then if we're looking at the running backs, it's probably just one of the rookies in Dobbins or Vaughn that would be interesting for me. I think probably going to be either J.K. Dobbins or Deebo Samuel. And I think the way I would look at it is there's more receivers later that I think I like than running back. I think I'd take my shot. Yeah.
You're building a second-year wide receiver team with A.J. Brown and D.K. Metcalf. I think Deebo fits the team a little bit better than anyone
does. A friend of mine in a dynasty league actually has all 3 of those, and I was trying to get one of them off of him, but he was not budging. So I do know a team that actually has all 3 of them, and he's working on collecting the entire draft class. So he's looking
lucky
at
man.
Other guys. Yeah,
the gauntlet glove going on.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. The Thanos of the league. But yeah, so I think here there's not too many running backs that I think have a ton of upside. You got Vaughn, probably Alexander Madison, maybe Breida. So I think I'm going to take the guy that I think has the most upside And, I think even with Mark Ingram as the lead back, we saw last year, I mentioned before, Gus Edwards still had a really good year, actually, surprisingly, even though he played mostly second half games because, why waste Mark Ingram's tires when you're already up by 20 points after the first half. So I think that's going to be Dobbins, but he's also going to be working early as well. So I think Dobbins is going to be the pick here. We'll get a fourth running back that don't necessarily need to be an impact player right away and can wait on. After that, Marlon Mack, Drew Brees, and Michael Gallup.
All right. So I'll probably reach on these next two in comparison to where they're falling on these lists, just because I'm not going to pick for a while after these next two picks. Keyshawn Vaughn's a guy that I do believe in, actually. I'm a Vaughn over Ronald Jones guy, and we can debate on that another time. But Sony Michel's interesting. Madison's is interesting, too, if the holdout does occur and it goes for a long time. We're talking redraft here. Could be the starting running back day one. And James White, I think, might be projected the most points out of most of these running backs right now here because we got a PPR league going on. And think about a new quarterback in Cam, or if it's Stidham for whatever reason, might be a little bit uncomfortable. And the easiest go-to target might be James White out of the backfield. So that's PPR gold right there if that's the case. Looking at the wide receivers, I'm not a big Debo guy because of the volume. I don't think the volume is there for 49ers receivers. I do think he's extremely talented, but redraft, he's coming off an injury, so I might want to avoid that. Not sure how Big Ben's going to line up with Deontay Johnson, but he's very interesting. I'm actually going to reach for both these picks. My strategy here is to go for James White because I think that the PPR is going to be there for 2020. Will it be there for 2021? I don't know, but it won't matter for this league. So I'm going to go with him. And then on the flip, when it comes back around, I'm going to go with my number one wide receiver in this rookie class since I went for my number one running back. So I'm just going to go with that trend. I'll start with the James White pick. And it goes Gronk, Tom Brady, ironically, Debo Samuel, Sony Michel, and I'm going to go back to the wide receivers, and I'm going to reach a little bit just because I'm not going to get my pick in a long time here. And my pick is going to be Jerry Jeudy, who was my wide receiver one in this draft class. The reason he is because we've seen a lot of elite talent out of this class. But what I think separates Jerry Jeudy is he has NFL-ready route running. That's been what all the scouting reports have come from him. I know CeeDee Lamb is crazy talented too and has a better quarterback situation going on. But I think that might be the biggest factor for a lot of these rookie wide receivers is can they get separated from elite NFL defenders? Can they hit the routes right? So I think Jerry Jeudy can come in and he could be their number one guy right out the bat. So I'm going to take him with some confidence, my wide receiver one pre-draft, and lock that in. So after that, we got Tyler Higbee off the board, Keyshawn Vaughn, Alexander Madison, and we are back to Will.
All right. So still going running back, wide receiver so far. So still always keeping an eye on that quarterback and tight end position. Ryan, Rodgers, Allen, Wentz, Stafford. So still a good amount of quarterbacks available that I would really like, and then a few guys that I don't mind taking later just to start the year and see what happens. In a normal league, I'd look back and to see on the turn here, 2 of the 5 teams have quarterbacks, so wouldn't really have to reach. Now, with a few of them being the CPUs, who knows if they will double down on quarterbacks, but not super having to take that position. The tight end position is maybe a little different just because I think there is more of a drop-off there. You got a Hayden Hurst and a Hunter Henry, both available still here in the 8th round. Hunter Henry is really interesting to me. I think Hurst will be good, but new offense, so we'll see what happens. And obviously, new quarterback for Hunter Henry, but I think regardless of who's under center, there is he's a tight end's best friend or quarterback's best friend is the tight ends. I think if it is the rookie, then Hunter Henry gets looks there, but he can also get downfield as well. He's pretty athletic. So he's not a guy that you have to rely on for short passes. So Hunter Henry is probably the fallback So then I would look back to the wide receivers and running backs. You got Matt Breida. You got Tariq Cohen. Not too many more running backs available. And then at the wide receiver position, Deontay Johnson, Fuller, Edelman, Slayton. So there's probably more than enough wide receivers that I wouldn't mind waiting another round. So for me right here, it's going with one of the tight ends or waiting another round there and taking one more running back. I think I'm going to test that out here and see if I can get one of, Hurst, Henry, maybe even Cook to come back. So we're going to go with Matt Breida and, get another running back, as they're always valuable. You can never have too many running backs, kind of as Nick alluded to at the beginning of the draft here. So we'll go Matt Breida. I think might be one of the last really valuable guys to take here.
I hate you.
I know. It feels so good.
After that entire conversation of quarterbacks and tight ends, I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome. This is
going
to work out.
Got to bait and switch you.
Man, I will tell you that if I didn't have Mark Andrews, there's no way Hayden Hurst would be getting back to you, because I would be taking him at some point here. That sucks. So I'm still looking at the running back position. We got Cohen, Coleman, Lindsey, Carry-On, Tavius Murray, Zach Moss. Not like super thrilled about any of them. Lindsey is always the interesting one. I just don't trust him. Nick, what do you think about Lindsey this year?
Still think he's going to have a role. I don't think he disappears. I mean, he had 2 1,000 plus yard seasons. Maybe he is like somewhat of a pass catcher pair to Melvin Gordon. Not going to say like the same like Eckler was, but maybe he's a guy that's going to catch out of the backfield and still give you some random touchdowns here and there. So, I'm not a big fan of a lot of these guys on here, but he might have the biggest role. I don't know about Cohen. That's a dart throw. I'm a Chicago fan, not a huge Cohen fan, just because I think he caps Montgomery. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of these guys either, but I think Cohen is going to be my pick here. This is probably the last forced running back pick I'm going to make. I'm not a fan of him either, but in a PPR league with the amount of targets that he gets, and I'm sure we'll keep getting, I don't think he's going to touch the 100 mark that he hit last year, but should see a lot of targets still. I think he's going to be a nice kind of safety net for my team for when Geis gets hurt eventually. And then we'll see what happens. We'll see what's on the board when my next pick comes up. So we had Deontay Johnson and Mecole Hardman go off the board. I'm sure that's sad news for Will and his team. We have Aaron Rodgers and Will Fuller round out the 8th. Hunter Henry, there he goes, Will, the 901. Darius Slayton, another second-year guy being stolen from you. Tevin Coleman and Julian Edelman off the board. So I'm going to run down the positions here. We have Matt Ryan, Josh Allen, Carson Wentz, Matt Stafford, and Daniel Jones at quarterback. At running back, we got the same guys, really. Lindsey, Carry-On, Latavius Murray, Zach Moss, Darrell Henderson. At wide receiver, we got CeeDee Lamb, Marvin Jones, Emmanuel Sanders, Henry Ruggs, Jamison Crowder. And then at tight end, Hayden Hurst, Jared Cook, Noah Fant, Austin Hooper. And this reminds me of another reason I don't draft Galladay early, is because I like Marvin Jones and I could just draft him late. So it'd be really nice if I had a running back at that spot and then just draft Marvin Jones here. I think that would balance his team out a lot more, but I don't want both of the pass catchers there. So quarterback's interesting. I do kind of want to go quarterback. I like Matt Ryan. I like Josh Allen. I like Wentz. I like Stafford. So there's plenty of options. Will any of them get back to me? I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure Will's going to grab somebody if anybody falls to me, like Carson Wentz or Stafford. So I might have to strike early if I want my guy, but I'm more of a late round quarterback guy. And 9th round isn't really late enough for me. So that kind of sucks. But then looking at the wide receiver positions, I'm not the biggest guy with rookies and wide receivers, so I really don't want Lamb. Marvin Jones doesn't make sense. Manny Sanders probably doesn't have the upside. Ruggs I'm not a fan of. Crowder's solid. Not bad, but also doesn't excite me. So I guess I will go ahead and draft my quarterback here. Just have the pick of the litter. I like them all. I don't draft this guy too often, but I'm going to go ahead and grab Matt Ryan here. His back and forth years says that this year he should be a top 3 guy. And I'm going to rely on that. I do believe him. He's got obviously tons of weapons, a pretty good offense. So I like him here in the ninth round.
All right. So a little bit of buyer's remorse on the Matt Breida pick because I do think Henry is a little, like maybe half a tier ahead of the guys that are still left. You got,
That's what you get.
yeah, Aiden
Jerk.
Hurst, Jared Cook, and Hooper, and then maybe even Fant and Gesicki kind of right there in that next tier. But I'd probably really be okay with all of them, even taking a shot on Hawkinson or Goddard. There's more than enough guys. I with Hooper and Hurst changing teams, it kind of gives me a little bit of pause. Maybe knock them down half a tier. I do still like both of them, but not more than one of the other ones to pass up here. As you mentioned, there's still a few quarterbacks on the board that I like. You had Allen, Wentz, Stafford, and then kind of a next tier with Daniel Jones, Roethlisberger, Burrow. So I'll probably look quarterback next round, depending on how many go. So really be looking, to strike one more time here. I think 5 picks left. One of them has to be quarterback, one has to be a tight end. So I've only got a few positional players still on the board, and there's really not too many running backs that thrill me. So I think the guy that makes the most sense right here is someone that Steve talked about and wasn't able to take because of Galladay. It's Marvin Jones. With Landry, I'm pretty solid at one wide receiver position, and I'm banking on at least Brown or Metcalf to kind of be a more consistent threat. I know both of them, can have more upside. But a guy like Marvin Jones, is an easy plug-in guy. I know he's usually has a pretty high yards per catch. But I think he kind of gets the moniker of being a boom bust guy. And he does have a few games where he'll be pretty low, but he does get some pretty, middle of the ground games as well. And really just get him as my fourth receiver here in the ninth round to be pretty thrilled with the running back core we already have. So we're going to go with Marvin Jones and see which quarterbacks get back. So after that, Josh Allen, Hayden Hurst, and Emmanuel Sanders to Nick.
Interesting. Obvious talent is CeeDee Lamb right there, but I took the chance with Judy earlier, and if by chance both are not getting the volume that they need to in this redraft team, I might be in some trouble. I think Crowder is a safe pick. I think he's going to get the targets this year, even with Perryman coming in and Mims, because I think Mims will take a little bit. I love Justin Jefferson. Diggs is gone. Does he take those targets right away? I don't know. I think he's very talented. He was my wide receiver 3 off the board. I have my tight end on the comeback that I think I'm going to grab. So I think it just comes down to the wide receiver and who I'm going to take a chance on. I think I've said this before. We saw a world where Brandon Cooks, Cooper Kupp, and Robert Woods were all fantasy relevant in the Rams offense at one point. Could that be the same for Dak supplementing Cooper with Gallup and Lamb to all be effective? I think it might be a stretch. Could happen. I think I just got to take the best talent on the board. I normally in a redraft I wouldn't be taking 2 rookie wide receivers like that this kind of early. Yeah, I'm just going to take the chance just because of the talent that's there. Who's to say that Cooper isn't, the third on the target list? I don't know how it's going to happen. I think he is your safe pick for wide receiver, but with CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup just being absolute studs too, I think I'm just going to take the chance with CeeDee Lamb and take my tight end on the come around here. All right. So with the tight end position, by the time it comes back around to me, I don't think I'm going to have a quality tight end. I think if I want a bench guy, there's plenty of guys like Herndon and Irv Smith and some of those guys down the list that I could wait on, but I don't want that to be my starting tight end. I'm a big Mike Gesicki truther. I think that he balled out last season, and his targets and volume increased as time went on over the season. So I think Mike Flores is the head coach, and whoever the offensive coordinator is over there, I think they recognize that he could be a solid target. He's a good red zone target. So I don't think it actually matters if it's Fitzpatrick or Tua. I think Gesicki's going to have a very good role there, and I'm going to draft him with the hot take that Gesicki might be this year's Darren Waller, the surprise guy that jumps in the top 10 and might contest for a top 5 spot there. Who knows? So yeah, that's
good pick.
Thank you. And yeah, forget about that. Let me see who else went off the board here for you guys. Latavius Murray, Henry Ruggs, Christian Kirk, and then we're back to you, Will.
All right. So a couple of the quarterbacks went at kind of first tier. I was available in Allen, Wentz, and Stafford. After
That's
that,
what you get for drafting Matt Breida.
You're welcome. But there's still more than enough quarterbacks available that I don't mind waiting another round or two on. So probably looking back to the tight end position. Still got a guy like Austin Hooper who had a great year last year. As I mentioned, changed teams, but this is kind of the time when you're typically striking on guys that you're not really too sure about. I feel like you typically don't see guys who have really produced like Cook or Hooper available. You probably are looking at your Hawkinsons, your Goddards, and hoping for a little more. So right here, I'm going to go with Austin Hooper as my tight end 1. Thrilled to get him this late, and can wait a round or two on quarterback and kind of don't have to force another pick here. I'll kind of see what other best positions are available there. So we'll go with Austin Hooper. And Steve, you are on the clock.
Awesome. So I'm going to look to the wide receiver position, maybe back to back, because I like a lot of these guys. I do like Crowder. I didn't like him in the 9th round, but here in the 10th, he's a great value. As Nick was saying, I do believe in him. I think he's got a nice floor, but honestly, with the wide receivers that I have, I'm not really looking for a floor. I want more upside shots right now. So I will take my turn at drafting a rookie, and I'm going to go ahead and grab Justin Jefferson. Take a shot to the moon. If he doesn't pan out, whatever. I'm pretty good at wide receiver anyway, because that's how heavy I went to begin with. But we'll see what happens with him. So we'll snag Justin Jefferson as a nice upside shot here late. We had Jared Cook, Big Ben, Crowder, and Daniel Jones go off to round out the 10th. To start the 11th, we had a little bit of a running back run here. Zach Moss, Noah Fant, Darrell Henderson, and Justin Jackson. So I'm back on the board. And I like a lot of these guys. Anthony Miller showed a lot of promise at the end of the year last year. Deshaun Jackson. I believe in a little bit more than I think the average person right now. Preston Williams, me and Will are big fans. Jalen Reagor, me and Will are also big fans of. So I'd be comfortable with all 4 of these guys. But there's one that I like above the rest, and I will keep him away from Will in his second year wide receiver strategy, and I will grab Mr. Preston Williams. We both believe in him. I think he can take the step forward as long as he can stay healthy. Showed some good stuff last year, so another nice upside shot for me. And I do think he's pretty safe. I mean, when he was playing last year, I think he was averaging, once he got in a groove, like 70 yards a game. So pretty solid. Go ahead and grab him here late. Next to you, Will.
All right. So still, that next tier quarterbacks went. So at this point, I'm probably punting the position till 12th to 13th round and just picking up somebody that has a good early schedule. Haven't really looked through all that yet. So we'll just kind of go with somebody next round or two. But take a look at what other positional players are still available. Not really looking at tight end anymore. The guy that stands out probably the most to me is one of the ones Steve mentioned there. That's Jalen Reagor. I thought you were going to snag him from me there, Steve. But I guess you didn't want to go back-to-back rookie receiver.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. He also kind of the talk of him learning the Djax role.
Yeah.
Initially kind of worries me because you have Djax for that. You have Goodwin for that. So that kind of scares me, that talk. But yeah, it's more so the double rookies.
Yeah, so I think at this point, he would be my 5th wide receiver. Like you said, wouldn't really be banking on him, especially with Jarvis and Marvin Jones, and then the 2 second-year guys we're breaking out. Wouldn't mind getting another running back, but I'm not thrilled with any of the guys that are available. So I'm pretty happy that I've got 5 already. So we'll go with Jalen Reagor and see either best available or jump on a quarterback in the next round. After Reagor, Deshaun Jackson goes, Antonio Gibson, Anthony Miller to you.
Right. Let's see what we got on the board here. Nothing too eyebrow raising with the running backs. Always the rumors with Hines being involved, but it's tough if there's 3 guys that might be utilized in that backfield. Boston Scott to me is an interesting guy. If he is utilized like he was at the end of the season, I think Miles Sanders gets the load, but if they do have some split carries, and he finds his way into the end zone. That's interesting. Other than that, nothing really stands out here for the running backs too much, unless you're an AJ Dillon truther like half of Twitter is right now.
I don't think Steve or I am. Somebody
right.
did go with them in the first round in one of our rookie drafts, though.
Interesting. Michael Pittman Jr., love the talent there. Wouldn't be surprised if he finishes the season as wide receiver 1, but I'm not going to take another rookie wide receiver right now because they're going to say I have rookie fever, and I want to shake that off. So I'm going to go with a guy that I think a lot of people forgot about. He had some concussion issues, but if you look at the points he's projected a lot of points. He was getting high target volume. The games he was healthy, I mean, he had some games, just looking at his stats last year, he had 3 games in a row with 9 targets. Then he had one with 11, one with 10. So I think I'm going to go here with Sterling Shepard, even though people are very high on Slayton and Golden Tate can ball out at times. But I think Shepard has proven to be a guy that they are going to give the volume to. So I'm going to go with him on this pick.
Yeah, good pick.
Not an IU guy. Perryman, I've had in some leagues, but who knows who's going to get those targets. Still not going to go look at those running backs. I'm going to go farther down the list, and since I'm not picking for a while, there's 2 guys that come to mind right now. One's N'Keal Harry. He didn't show us much last year. He had some injuries. A lot of people are saying the biggest winner of Cam coming is N'Keal Harry. He's a big body guy, strong, physical presence, great hands. I think with Cam over Stidham, who was a big question mark, I think he might benefit if he's 100% healthy. It was either going to be him or Alan Lazard, because I think Lazard could be the wide receiver 2 for the Packers. Him and Aaron Rodgers have a great relationship on and off the field. Rodgers has been like boosting him up through some quotes that I've seen lately, just looking at Lazard. So I'd probably go with one of these 2 guys, and I'm going to go with the chance that Cam is a starter for the Patriots, and that Cam is playing well and can supplement a good wide receiver in N'Keal Harry, who was a great prospect out of college. We got Joe Burrow and Drew Lock, 2 quarterbacks off the bat there. Then we got Hines, like we mentioned before, and up to you again, Will.
Awesome, thank you. Maybe you can help me convince Steve about Alan Lazard. I'm definitely team Alan Lazard. I'm going to have him in the end of every redraft league. Steve isn't sold just yet, but I think where you're getting him here, the chance that he's the wide receiver 2 for Aaron Rodgers is it's crazy. So for me, it's taking a shot on a guy like him or Russell Gage. They're kind of my 2 late round dart throws at wide receiver. But I've already got Hooper. One guy that's really interesting that's still available, and he must just be far down, is a guy that I just traded for in a dynasty league, Mike Williams. Didn't even see him still there, and I know that was, we said, there's a change in quarterback. But to get him, as wide receiver 6 and not really have to really bank on him for anything, but he could break out and has draft pedigree, has the talent. I think we'll go with him and wait one more round here for the quarterback position.
The pick's pretty easy for me. I mean, it's somebody that Nick brought up earlier, and that's Boston Scott. For a guy that's gone 0 RB, getting somebody in the mid-12th that has a lot of PPR potential is excellent. So it's kind of hard to pass him up here. So I'm just going to go ahead and lock him in. There's not much more to say.
There you go. Nice.
We had Baker go off, Brandon Ayuk, Damian Harris, Rashad Perriman rounds out the 12th. Then we had Anthony McFarland, Ryan Tannehill, TJ Hawkinson, and AP go off the board. AP was a little tempting to me, going to have Geis and injury concerns, but I don't like handcuffs. So I'll run down the board real quick. We had Goff, Cousins, Garoppolo, Rivers, Bridgewater. At the running back position, Duke Johnson, Carlos Hyde, A.J. Dillon, Penny. At wide receiver, Golden Tate, Sammy Watkins, Antonio Gandy Golden, Alshon Jeffrey. And at tight end, we got Goddard, Jonnu, Jack Doyle, and Eric Ebron. I'm very tempted to just grab Jared Goff to just burn you, Will.
Yeah.
But that's just
There's actually
too
someone
much.
else that I think we all forgot about because of recent news as well that you could grab.
Yeah, you could grab Cam. Yeah, his ADP's not really adjusted yet.
No.
Sure.
I have his average points at like 262, so he'd be above most of the guys still available.
Ah, fair. Okay. I will go back to the well. Listeners will know I've drafted this guy in the last round before. I need shots on the running back position, so I will draft Jerick McKinnon. He could carve out that pass catching role in San Francisco. It's an incredibly powerful role to have. So we'll see. Hopefully he stays healthy. Just add a little bit more risk to this team. Why not?
Yeah. So I'll keep it, as it is. And as you mentioned, Jared Goff was a guy I was kind of targeting back 2 rounds ago with Jalen Reagor. I think Steve and I were talking about trading for him in Dynasty League. I think a lot of people are down on him right now because of that great year coming off the really bad Super Bowl game, but a great year that year. And last year, he was okay. Some moving pieces with the offense. I think he kind of forgot about with a lot of the younger quarterbacks that are set to take a step up. So he's someone I think I'd be targeting probably in the 10th, 11th round. So if I did have a couple of other guys slip to me and had to wait on quarterback, be thrilled to get him here in the last round. So we'll just lock in Jared Goff and leave this last pick up to you, Nick. Duke Johnson, Hyde, and Sammy Watkins off the board.
All right. I feel like I got so many wide receivers now. I'm not saying that they're all studs or anything like that, but I have a handful. I am starting right now just off the way I drafted 4 running backs, so that's interesting too. Probably with the bench size like this, wouldn't grab a tight end. There's so many tight ends left on the board, though, that I think could have breakout years. I can go through the list with that, but save that for another time. Golden Tate, I already have Shepard, so I don't want to do that. Gandy Golden, rookie fever, but I do like him and think that he could potentially end the season as a wide receiver 2 there. Running backs, man, I mean, a lot of people are high on Dylan. I think, he's an absolute monster. The way he physically is shaped and things like that, but I don't know if he's going to play week 1 or not until week 16 or whatever the case is going to be. I'm just going to go heavy wide receiver here and keep my team that way, and then I'll look at some of the teams that maybe are lacking in that department if this was a league and start trading right away. But I talked about Lazard already. If he ends up being the wide receiver 2 for the Packers, I think he has good value. He had like 3 weeks this past year where he did have good scoring weeks. So if that continues and Rodgers builds a trust with him, I like Lazard being a flex player. You probably won't start him in your wide receiver spot, but could be that potential guy. And again, Rodgers was talking about their relationship off the field. So I think he's the type of quarterback that needs to really trust his wide receivers, and I think he's building that with Lazard. So I'm going to snag him to cap it off and have my 18th wide receiver right there.
Yeah, love it.
Beautiful. So what we typically do here, Nick, at the end is just give a rundown of our team and give a quick opinion on what you think of it. Typically go left to right, so I'll go ahead and go first here. At the quarterback position, we have Matt Ryan. At running back, we have Cam Akers, Ronald Jones, Darius Geist, Tariq Cohen, Boston Scott, and Jerick McKinnon. At wide receiver, we got Michael Thomas, Kenny Galladay, Amari Cooper, Justin Jefferson, and Preston Williams. And then at tight end, we have Mark Andrews. This team makes me very uncomfortable because I'm just not a 0 RB guy. I would probably feel a lot better if I didn't get sniped with Jordan Howard and Matt Breida.
Yeah.
I would also probably feel better if I swapped Kenny Galladay for Gurley or Clyde Edwards-Helaire and then just grab Marvin Jones a little bit later. That is probably the move that would make me feel a whole lot better. You swap that out, swap out Geist with Jordan Howard or Cohen with Breida, and I would like the team a lot more. So it's not bad. It definitely has potential with the 0 RB strategy. It just worries me. How about you, Will?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in the same boat on one middle round pick there. But my team, Jared Goff, quarterback, Zeke, Eckler, Melvin Gordon, J.K. Dobbins, and Matt Breida at running back, A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, Jarvis Landry, Marvin Jones, Jalen Reagor, and Mike Williams at wide receiver, and Austin Hooper at tight end. Overall, I like the team. I think, taking Hunter Henry over, maybe a luxury pick in Breida and then grabbing a guy like a Zach Moss or Darrell Henderson instead of Hooper Yeah, I think I might be like it a little bit better, but overall, pretty satisfied with the team.
Right. Yeah. So quarterback got Lamar Jackson. Obviously, I think the numbers might go down a little bit in terms of the rushing yards, but he did throw the most touchdowns this past season. So I'm hoping that maybe the passing goes up a little bit for him. So took him early. I probably could have went with like a Miles Sanders or an Austin Eckler instead to pair with Josh Jacobs, and then taking a quarterback later in the draft. But I'll go with last year's fantasy MVP with Lamar Jackson. Josh Jacobs is one of my guys, so I wanted to make sure I got him, and I called that out before. Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram, I'm a little uncomfortable with. I think the volume's still going to be there for the touches and the rushing, and he's been consistent, but he's a guy I might pair with one of my wide receivers that could be a breakout candidate to upgrade this team if we were in a league and make a trade that way. So Jacobs, Mark Ingram, DJ Moore is one of my favorite players. I wanted to get him, got him. Lockett's going to have some decent volume, I think, this year, so I like that. Gesicki, talked about him already, but he's usually one of my tight end targets. Then I got Swift and White, who I think I'm going to bank on being pass catching backs potentially in 2020. We'll see what happens with Swift in his role. And then the rest of these guys, I think Sterling Shepard, if he's healthy, is going to be consistent, and I think he's going to be reliable. Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb and probably these other two guys, they're all up in the air, to be honest. So I think with drafting like this, where I'm taking CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy, who are very talented, N'Keal Harry's very talented too, and then Lazard to dart throw. I think if one of them like breaks out, then it'll be worth it, and I maybe have some trade value or something like that. So overall, took some chances on the team. I do like the team. I'm just hoping that half of these young guys break out at the end of my roster here.
Yeah, high risk, high reward kind of stance you took there.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, that wraps up the mock. Nick, we really appreciate you joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a lot of fun, and like I said, I haven't mocked since my last league draft, which is a few weeks ago. So it was interesting to go get my guys, and I'm going to lose after this podcast, but I a lot of fun with this.
Yeah, good little exercise. So before we close up the show here today, let's tell everybody where we can find you again.
It's at P2W Fantasy on Twitter. The website's playtowinfantasy.wordpress.com. Once we get a little bit more big time, we can change the URL, but everything through us you can find on Twitter. We're always willing to interact with people. Our DMs are always open, and please look out for the content that we put out and spread it if you like it. So thanks again for having me on, guys.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for joining us. Yep. All the listeners, thanks for joining us today. Always remember, trust your board.